a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Israel. Israel, officially the State of Israel, is a country in the Middle East, located on the southeastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea and the northern shore of the Red Sea. It has land borders with Lebanon to the north, Syria to the northeast, Jordan on the east, the Palestinian territories of the West Bank and Gaza Strip to the east and west, respectively, and Egypt to the southwest. The country contains geographically diverse features within its relatively small area. Israel's economic and technological center is Tel Aviv, while its seat of government and proclaimed capital is Jerusalem. Although the state's sovereignty over Jerusalem has only partial recognition, Israel has evidence of the earliest migration of hominids out of Africa. Canaanite tribes are archaeologically attested since the Middle Bronze Age, while the kingdoms of Israel and Judah emerged during the Iron Age. The Neo-Assyrian Empire destroyed Israel around 720 BCE. Judah was later conquered by the Babylonian, Persian and Hellenistic empires and had existed as Jewish autonomous provinces. The successful Maccabean revolt led to an independent Hasmonean kingdom by 110 BCE, which in 63 BCE however became a client state of the Roman Republic that subsequently installed the Herodian dynasty in 37 BCE, and in 6 CE created the Roman province of Judea. Judea lasted as a Roman province until the failed Jewish revolts resulted in widespread destruction, expulsion of Jewish population and the renaming of the region from Judea to Syria Palestina. Jewish presence in the region has persisted to a certain extent over the centuries. In the 7th century CE, the Levant was taken from the Byzantine Empire by the Arabs, and remained in Muslim control until the First Crusade of 1099, followed by the Ayyubid conquest of 1187. The Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt extended its control over the Levant in the 13th century until its defeat by the Ottoman Empire in 1517. During the 19th century, national awakening among Jews led to the establishment of the Zionist movement in the diaspora, followed by waves of immigration to Ottoman Syria and later British Mandate Palestine. In 1947, the United Nations adopted a partition plan for Palestine recommending the creation of independent Arab and Jewish states and an internationalized Jerusalem. The plan was accepted by the Jewish Agency, and rejected by Arab leaders. The following year, the Jewish Agency declared the independence of the State of Israel, and the subsequent 1948 Arab-Israeli War saw Israel's establishment over most of the former Mandate territory. While the West Bank and Gaza were held by neighboring Arab states, Israel has since fought several wars with Arab countries, and since the Six-Day War in 1967 held occupied territories including the West Bank, Golan Heights and the Gaza Strip. It extended its laws to the Golan Heights and East Jerusalem, but not the West Bank. Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories is the world's longest military occupation in modern times. Efforts to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict have not resulted in a final peace agreement. However, peace treaties between Israel and both Egypt and Jordan have been signed. In its basic laws, Israel defines itself as a Jewish and democratic state. Israel is a representative democracy with a parliamentary system, proportional representation and universal suffrage. The Prime Minister is head of government, and the Knesset is the legislature. Israel is a developed country and an Organization for Economic Company Operation and Development member, with the 32nd largest economy in the world by nominal gross domestic product. The country benefits from a highly skilled workforce and is among the most educated countries in the world, with one of the highest percentages of its citizens holding a tertiary education degree. Israel has the highest standard of living in the Middle East, and has one of the highest life expectancies in the world. Etymology. Upon independence in 1948, the country formally adopted the name, State of Israel, after other proposed historical and religious names including Eretz Israel, Zion, and Judea, were considered, but rejected. In the early weeks of independence, the government chose the term Israeli to denote a citizen of Israel, with the formal announcement made by Minister of Foreign Affairs Moshe Sharett. The names Land of Israel and children of Israel have historically been used to refer to the biblical kingdom of Israel and the entire Jewish people respectively. The name, Israel, persists/rules, though often interpreted as, struggle with God, in these phrases refers to the patriarch Jacob who, according to the Hebrew Bible, was given the name after he successfully wrestled with the angel of the Lord. Jacob's 12 sons became the ancestors of the Israelites, also known as the 12 tribes of Israel or children of Israel. Jacob and his sons had lived in Canaan, but were forced by famine to go into Egypt for 4 generations, lasting 430 years, until Moses, a great-great-grandson of Jacob, led the Israelites back into Canaan during the Exodus. The earliest known archaeological artifact to mention the word Israel as a collective is the Meneptah stele of ancient Egypt. The area is also known as the Holy Land, being holy for all Abrahamic religions including Judaism, Christianity, Islam and the Baha'i Faith. Under British mandate, the whole region was known as Palestine. Through the centuries, the territory was known by a variety of other names, including Canaan, Jahi, Samaria, Judea, Yehud, Ayudea, Syria, Syria Palestina, and southern Syria. Prehistory. The oldest evidence of early humans in the territory of modern Israel, dating to 1.5 million years ago, was found in Ubaigia near the Sea of Galilee. Other notable Paleolithic sites include the caves Tabun, Kizem, and Manot. The oldest fossils of anatomically modern humans found outside Africa are the skull and Kaftze hominins, who lived in the area that is now northern Israel 120,000 years ago, around 10th millennium BCE. The Nachfian culture existed in the area. Antiquity. The early history of the territory is unclear. Modern archaeology has largely discarded the historicity of the narrative in the Torah concerning the patriarchs, the Exodus, and the conquest of Canaan described in the Book of Joshua, and instead views the narrative as constituting the Israelites' national myth. During the Late Bronze Age, large parts of Canaan formed vassal states paying tribute to the new Kingdom of Egypt, whose administrative headquarters lay in Gaza. Ancestors of the Israelites are thought to have included ancient Semitic-speaking peoples native to this area. The Israelites and their culture, according to the modern archaeological account, did not overtake the region by force, but instead branched out of these Canaanite peoples and their cultures through the development of a distinct monolatristic, and later monotheistic, religion centered on Yahweh. The archaeological evidence indicates a society of village-like centers, but with more limited resources and a small population. Villages had populations of up to 300 or 400, which lived by farming and herding, and were largely self-sufficient. Economic interchange was prevalent. Writing was known and available for recording, even in small sites. While it is unclear if there was ever a united monarchy, there is well-accepted archaeological evidence referring to Israel in the Meneptah stele, which dates to about 1200 BCE. And the Canaanites are archaeologically attested in the Middle Bronze Age. There is debate about the earliest existence of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah and their extent and power, but historians agree that a kingdom of Israel existed by 900 BCE, and that a kingdom of Judah existed by 700 BCE. The kingdom of Israel was destroyed around 720 BCE, when it was conquered by the Neo-Assyrian Empire. In 586 BCE, King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon conquered Judah. According to the Hebrew Bible, he destroyed Solomon's temple and exiled the Jews to Babylon. The defeat was also recorded in the Babylonian Chronicles. The Babylonian exile ended around 538 BCE under the rule of the Persian Cyrus the Great after he captured Babylon. The Second Temple was constructed around 520 BCE, as part of the Persian Empire. The former kingdom of Judah became the province of Judah with different borders, covering a smaller territory. The population of the province was greatly reduced from that of the kingdom. Archaeological surveys showing a population of around 30,000 people in the 5th to 4th centuries BCE. Classical period. With successive Persian rule, the autonomous province Yehud Medinata was gradually developing back into urban society, largely dominated by Judeans. The Greek conquests largely skipped the region without any resistance or interest. Incorporated into the Ptolemaic and finally the Seleucid empires, the southern Levant was heavily Hellenized, building the tensions between Judeans and Greeks. The conflict erupted in 167 BCE with the Maccabean Revolt, which succeeded in establishing an independent Hasmonean kingdom in Judah, which later expanded over much of modern Israel, as the Seleucids gradually lost control in the region. The Roman Empire invaded the region in 63 BCE, first taking control of Syria, and then intervening in the Hasmonean Civil War. The struggle between pro-Roman and pro-Parthian factions in Judea eventually led to the installation of Herod the Great and consolidation of the Herodian kingdom as a vassal Judean state of Rome. With the decline of the Herodian dynasty, Judea, transformed into a Roman province, became the site of a violent struggle of Jews against Greco-Romans, culminating in the Jewish-Roman Wars, ending in wide-scale destruction, expulsions, and genocide. Jewish presence in the region significantly dwindled after the failure of the Bar Kokhba revolt against the Roman Empire in 132 CE. Nevertheless, there was a continuous small Jewish presence, and Galilee became its religious center. The Mishnah and part of the Talmud, central Jewish texts, were composed during the 2nd to 4th centuries CE in Tiberias and Jerusalem. The region came to be populated predominantly by Greco-Romans on the coast and Samaritans in the hill country. Christianity was gradually evolving over Roman paganism, when the area stood under Byzantine rule. Through the 5th and 6th centuries, the dramatic events of the repeated Samaritan revolts reshaped the land, with massive destruction to Byzantine Christian and Samaritan societies and a resulting decrease of the population. After the Persian conquest and the installation of a short-lived Jewish Commonwealth in 614 CE, the Byzantine Empire reconquered the country in 628. Middle Ages and modern history. In 634–641 CE, the region, including Jerusalem, was conquered by the Arabs who had recently adopted Islam. Control of the region transferred between the Rashidun caliphs, Umayyads, Abbasids, Fatimids, Seljuks, Crusaders, and Ayyubids throughout the next 3 centuries. During the siege of Jerusalem by the First Crusade in 1099, the Jewish inhabitants of the city fought side by side with the Fatimid garrison and the Muslim population who tried in vain to defend the city against the Crusaders. When the city fell, around 60,000 people were massacred, including 6,000 Jews seeking refuge in a synagogue. At this time, a full 1,000 years after the fall of the Jewish state, there were Jewish communities all over the country. 50 of them are known and include Jerusalem, Tiberias, Ramallah, Ashkelon, Caesarea, and Gaza. According to Albert of Aachen, the Jewish residents of Haifa were the main fighting force of the city, and, mixed with Saracen, Fatimid, troops, they fought bravely for close to a month until forced into retreat by the Crusader fleet and land army. However, Joshua Prawer expressed doubt over the story, noting that Albert did not attend the Crusades, and that such a prominent role for the Jews is not mentioned by any other source. In 1165, Maimonides visited Jerusalem and prayed on the Temple Mount, in the Great Holy House. In 1141, the Spanish Jewish poet Yehuda Halevi issued a call for Jews to migrate to the land of Israel, a journey he undertook himself. In 1187, Sultan Saladin, founder of the Ayyubid dynasty, defeated the Crusaders in the Battle of Hattin and subsequently captured Jerusalem and almost all of Palestine. In time, Saladin issued a proclamation inviting Jews to return and settle in Jerusalem. And according to Judah al-Harazi, they did. From the day the Arabs took Jerusalem, the Israelites inhabited it. Al-Harazi compared Saladin's decree allowing Jews to re-establish themselves in Jerusalem to the one issued by the Persian king Cyrus the Great over 1,600 years earlier. In 1211, the Jewish community in the country was strengthened by the arrival of a group headed by over 300 rabbis from France and England, among them Rabbi Samson ben Abraham of Senators Nachmanides, the 13th-century Spanish rabbi, and recognized leader of Jewry, greatly praised the land of Israel and viewed its settlement as a positive commandment incumbent on all Jews. He wrote, "If the Gentiles wish to make peace, we shall make peace. and leave them on clear terms. But as for the land, we shall not leave it in their hands, nor in the hands of any nation, not in any generation. In 1260, control passed to the Mamluk Sultans of Egypt. The country was located between the two centers of Mamluk power, Cairo and Damascus, and only saw some development along the postal road connecting the two cities. Jerusalem, although left without the protection of any city walls since 1219, also saw a flurry of new construction projects centered around the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound on the Temple Mount. In 1266, the Mamluk Sultan Baybars converted the Cave of the Patriarchs in Hebron into an exclusive Islamic sanctuary and banned Christians and Jews from entering, who previously had been able to enter it for a fee. The ban remained in place until Israel took control of the building in 1967. In 1470, Isaac B. Meir Latif arrived from Italy and counted 150 Jewish families in Jerusalem, thanks to Joseph Saragosse, who had arrived in the closing years of the 15th century. Safed and its environs had developed into the largest concentration of Jews in Palestine. With the help of the Sephardic immigration from Spain, the Jewish population had increased to 10,000 by the early 16th century. In 1516, the region was conquered by the Ottoman Empire. It remained under Turkish rule until the end of the First World War, when Britain defeated the Ottoman forces and set up a military administration across the former Ottoman Syria. In 1920, the territory was divided between Britain and France under the Mandate system, and the British-administered area, which included modern-day Israel, was named Mandatory Palestine. Zionism and British Mandate. Since the existence of the earliest Jewish diaspora, many Jews have aspired to return to Zion and the Land of Israel, though the amount of effort that should be spent towards such an aim was a matter of dispute. The hopes and yearnings of Jews living in exile are an important theme of the Jewish belief system. After the Jews were expelled from Spain in 1492, some communities settled in Palestine. During the 16th century, Jewish communities struck roots in the four holy cities: Jerusalem, Tiberias, Hebron, and Safed. And in 1697, Rabbi Yehuda Hatchazid led a group of 1,500 Jews to Jerusalem. In the second half of the 18th century, Eastern European opponents of Hasidism, known as the Perushim, settled in Palestine. The first wave of modern Jewish migration to Ottoman-ruled Palestine, known as the First Aliyah, began in 1881, as Jews fled pogroms in Eastern Europe. Although the Zionist movement already existed in practice, Austro-Hungarian journalist Theodor Herzl is credited with founding political Zionism, a movement which sought to establish a Jewish state in the land of Israel, thus offering a solution to the so-called Jewish question of the European states, in conformity with the goals and achievements of other national projects of the time. In 1896, Herzl published Der Judenstaat, offering his vision of a future Jewish state. The following year he presided over the First Zionist Congress. The Second Aliyah began after the Kishinev pogrom. Some 40,000 Jews settled in Palestine, although nearly half of them left eventually. Both the first and second waves of migrants were mainly Orthodox Jews, although the Second Aliyah included socialist groups who established the kibbutz movement. During World War I, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour sent the Balfour Declaration of 1917 to Baron Rothschild, a leader of the British Jewish community, that stated that Britain intended for the creation of a Jewish national home within the Palestinian Mandate. In 1918, the Jewish Legion, a group primarily of Zionist volunteers, assisted in the British conquest of Palestine. Arab opposition to British rule and Jewish immigration led to the 1920 Palestine riots and the formation of a Jewish militia known as the Haganah, from which the Irgun and Lehi, or the Stern Gang, paramilitary groups later split off. In 1922, the League of Nations granted Britain a mandate over Palestine under terms which included the Balfour Declaration with its promise to the Jews, and with similar provisions regarding the Arab Palestinians. The population of the area at this time was predominantly Arab and Muslim, with Jews accounting for about 11%, and Arab Christians about 9.5% of the population. The third and fourth Aliyahs brought an additional 100,000 Jews to Palestine. The rise of Nazism and the increasing persecution of Jews in 1930s Europe led to the fifth Aliyah, with an influx of 250,000 Jews. This was a major cause of the Arab Revolt of 1936–39, during which the British Mandate authorities alongside the Zionist militias of Haganah and Irgun killed 5,032 Arabs and wounded 14,760, resulting in over 10% of the adult male Palestinian Arab population killed, wounded, imprisoned or exiled. The British introduced restrictions on Jewish immigration to Palestine with the White Paper of 1939, with countries around the world turning away Jewish refugees fleeing the Holocaust. A clandestine movement known as Aliyah Bet was organized to bring Jews to Palestine. By the end of World War II, the Jewish population of Palestine had increased to 33% of the total population. Brought to you by WikiVidi documentaries. Would you like to know more?